This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
That was kind of a funny voice recording there. Yeah, you do kind of have a radio voice, don't you? Anyway, this is Dan calling. Talk to you when I talk to you. Later, bye.
It is the 22nd of April, 2021. My name is Corey Winfield, and this is what they call the 217 Recovery Podcast. Podcast I started a little over 2 years ago as a way to stay sober and to do something that I like to do. See, I had radio experience. I did that for 20 years. Good times, bad times, and everything in between. But I was reminded today about how much fun that I did have in radio. And there's some real dark days and some fond memories. And is a memory lane that I was kind of afraid to go down for many different reasons. And being in recovery 2 years and 4 months and some change, I don't like to open too many doors from the past. You know, it's scary because you don't know which door is gonna set you off. At least for me, it is that way. And I had a lot of good memories in radio, but there was a lot of embarrassing times, a lot of drunk times that I didn't really want to revisit. But a friend of mine reached out. His name's Ron Robinson, and he started a podcast a few months ago called Radio Dayz, and it's Days with a Z, not an S at the end. And he asked me to be on his podcast, and what he does is he talks to people that were in radio and, you know, just about the good old days of radio. And I guess I was in radio when it was probably the last good old days. I mean, to me, radio is just not the same now as what it used to be, and there's a lot of good people that just aren't in radio anymore. And, you know, if you listen, you can kind of tell, and you get music, you can get entertainment, you can get anything whenever you want it, pretty much on your phone. So radio has changed, and they'll tell you, oh, no, people still listen to radio, and sure they do. But it's not the same as it was 20 years ago or even 40 years ago. But his podcast is pretty unique. It's interesting. I like listening to it. And Ron's over on the other side of the state of Michigan. He's over by Detroit, so he talks to a lot of Detroit people, but he really wanted to have me on. And so I agreed to it, and he asked, if I would send him some clips, if I could pull out some old air checks and some tapes and send them to him. And honestly, I was afraid. I was afraid what I was going to find. I was afraid what I was going to hear. Was it as good as I remembered, or it was all going to suck? You know, I was afraid that it was just going to suck, and that maybe I thought it was good or funny because I had been drinking. And a good thing, not really a good thing, but I made a decision to stop drinking on the air, because when I was younger in my career, I thought, man, this, especially like doing a Saturday night show. I used to love doing Saturday nights, man, because I felt like I was a part of the party, you know, and what better way than, have a couple beers, and go in and do a Saturday night show, and man, I'm just going to be just like them, we're all partying tonight. And I thought I really thought it made me better. And as the drinking kind of takes a hold of you, as it probably has for so many other people, you start to believe like, yeah, I am better. Well, then one day I heard a commercial and it was not better. I was really drunk in the commercial. I was embarrassed. So I went and I redid the commercial as quick as I could so that it didn't sound like I was flat drunk. And that moment embarrassed me so much that, I had swore that, okay, I'm never drinking on the air again. From here forward, I'm never doing it again. And that's a huge reason why I started doing the podcast as well. It was said to me by Ray. He was the peer recovery coach at Riverwood in Ben Harbor at the time before I went to treatment the last time. He pulled me in his office and he said, what's it going to take, Corey? What's it going to take for you to just stop drinking? And before I could spit out the line of, oh, well, once I have kids, he stopped me and said, just think about it, and I did. And that's when it occurred to me that, yeah, when I put radio above drinking, that was one thing that I could put above drinking. So that's, why it kind of led me to the podcast. But back to the radio career and doing that, now I would still show up, well, not really drunk, but they'd be coming on my pores, next day. And kind of as Ron said in the podcast, if you want to listen to it, he says it's going to be published tomorrow. He said that he would sit next to me in meetings sometimes, and he's like, man, I could just smell the beer coming out of your pores, man. Like, it just smelled like a brewery. He's like, I'd walk in the studio and it just smelled like a brewery, man. He's like, I know you weren't drunk. I know you weren't drinking, but it was just coming out of you, man. And he was kind of worried for me back then, because I would get off work at 5 and it would just be straight drinking. I would drink probably anywhere from 12 to 18 beers a night of that Milwaukee's Best Ice, which was because it was high in alcohol content. So that's why I would drink that. And I would just pound them, man. And you think about drinking that many beers within, 5 or 6 hours. I mean, that's really putting them down. And no wonder it was coming out my pores, I couldn't get rid of it fast enough. So going through the tapes, though, it was a daunting task. I put it off the last minute. I was supposed to actually do the podcast yesterday, but some things came up with a friend that I had to help out, so we couldn't do it yesterday. And so we did it today. We rescheduled it, and last minute, like I do everything, I got out the box, that had all my CDs in it, and I started going through them and listening to them, and I was pleasantly surprised. They hold up. Now, if you ask Marnie, if you ask my wife, she'll probably say, yeah, they're not as funny as you think they are. But being in the moment with some of the guys that I had the pleasure of working with, it really brought back a lot of fond memories and a lot of good times and a lot of good memories. When I would think about the past and think about that kind of stuff, I try to shut it down, and say, well, can't change it. What I did, I've done, and I have to keep moving forward. But sometimes I think it might be a good thing to remember the past, because it might not be as dark as you think. At least it was for me. Yeah, I had some dark days and some dark moments, but, there was a time and a point in my life where alcohol was out of control, probably, absolutely, yes, but it wasn't to the point that it led to, which it leads to for so many. It's that rock bottom that, it's taken over your life. It controls everything, and back then, I didn't have to drink every night. Otherwise, I'd start shaking like it did at the end. I had to drink, otherwise I'd start shaking. And then it wasn't as bad, and I'm sure, yeah, I had a drinking problem. I know my family was kind of concerned, and I thought, I was like 22 or 23 to swear off hard liquor, that would be the way to go. And, it just postponed things. But I knew early on that I can't drink hard liquor. Things are going to go haywire real quick. So I switched to just beer, and I remember my mom was pretty excited about that, just that I was not drinking hard liquor anymore. Now, I don't think she was excited that I was drinking beer still, but lesser of the evils in a lot of people's mind. And, I would still get drunk. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the result was still the same, but it just wasn't as fast. And they say there's something about the hard liquor that really brings the demon out in people. So I figured, hey, if I can get under control, do that, not drink at work, things would be just fine. And as I progressed through my radio career, it went a lot faster than I thought I was going to go. And I reached a point in my career where I was somewhere where I had hoped to be. And then there I was, and I wanted more. I took a job in a city, in a state where I didn't know anybody. And I think that's when things really turned for the worse. And I became a person who just straight up isolated. I went to work, I came home isolated. every single day. It was just the same thing over and over. And I wasn't happy. I was miserable. I didn't really want to be there. I thought I made a bad choice. In the end, I learned a lot there. And I grew a lot in my career there. And a lot of the things that I do today on the website, here on the podcast, the people I meet, the promotions that we do, and things like that, I learned all that, by working for iHeartMedia in Fort Smith, Arkansas. And I ended up kind of liking the place and understanding the people a little bit more by the time I left. But when I first got there, it was just something that was so foreign to me. It wasn't like Texas, and it definitely wasn't like Michigan. So it was hard. And getting caught in that cycle of drinking again a lot, and the hard liquor a lot, drinking that again is what I meant. Drinking a lot at a rate that's just insane, and drinking, 100 proof stuff all the time, and, 90 proof, I'd settle for that. But it was hard, and it led to a lot of pain. And when I came out of that, it was more pain. I thought that would be the end of it, and just stop drinking doesn't cut it. When I was in the hospital, I told the doctor that, I don't need AA and I don't need a therapist. I just need to quit drinking. And he looked at me, and I wish, like so many of us probably, I wish I would have listened. I wish I would have said, I am not better than anybody else, and why do I think I am? But it's just that addiction, that hold that it has on you, and it takes time for your brain to heal. I had a call from a friend tonight, and he's like, I want my 6-month chip today, but he only has 66 days. And it's like, well, it'll come, just trust me, keep taking it day by day. And before you know it, it flies by. The first year is a little bit slower, but for me, once I hit the year, it just foot on the gas pedal, man. It's flying by. And it's good, because the more distance I can put between me and my last drink, I think the better I am. And I told him I just discovered recently that AA meetings help more than I thought they did. I don't go to as many as I used to, but when I was in very early recovery, when I came out of treatment, I went to sober living, and we had to hit 5 meetings a week. And I hit more than that usually. We made a thing out of it, me and a couple of guys in the house. It was just fun. It was something that we did. We turned it into something that was fun rather than, I got to go to 5 meetings this week. Let me go get one in. We turned it into fun. We played games, which some people liked, some people didn't appreciate, but it was our recovery, man. We worked out how we needed to. But a lot of times I would vent. I would use those AA meetings to vent. And I would still tell my therapist things, and I wouldn't vent things that I would usually tell my therapist. But, I would get off my chest what I could. And you start doing that over and over, and it's the repetition. That's why that's why they make you go to so many when you go to sober living after treatment. It's getting that repetition. And when you do that, you start training your brain different things. My go-to when I was frustrated or confused or just uncomfortable, my brain was trained to go to the store, grab a bottle. This is what we do. Had a bad day at work, well, gotta hit the store, get a bottle. Had a good day at work, well, gotta go to the store, get the bottle. It was always going to the bottle. Well, now when I find myself in situations where I'm uncomfortable or maybe upset, my brain goes, I need to go to a meeting. And the only thing I can contribute that to is just going to meetings over and over and over and over and over and getting things off my chest, to where my brain became adapt to, like, this is what we do now. To get things off your chest, we go to meetings. And that, maybe that should have dawned on me a lot sooner, but it's just recently is when I started thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, that's why we go to so many meetings. And that's why when you get out of treatment and you go to a sober living house, they tell you to go to so many meetings. It's not because they want to punish you with, you better go to meetings. It's because you have to build that repetition, and you have to train your brain. This is how we handle this problem. I'm telling you, it's a lot better than going to the store. You know, and a lot of people have a hard time with, well, I don't like it. They talk about God, you know. Get out of it what you want out of it, man. And they'll tell you, you know, there's all kinds of meetings you can go to, too. You know, it doesn't have to be just AA. Go to NA, or if you're like, no, that still talks about God, too. Whatever, man. Get over it. You know, this is life and death. You know, do you want a good life? Read the promises. It's laid out for you, man. Those are promises, and those are made for a reason, because those happen to just about everybody who follows some sort of recovery meeting group. You know, you keep it on the real and you start doing things for other people, your life's going to change, and you get used to becoming more of a dependable person, more reliable person. When someone at a meeting is like, all right, man, we'll see you next week, or we'll see you Tuesday, or whatever, and you're like, yep. And then all of a sudden Tuesday comes and you're like, oh man, my back hurts. But I told Dave I'd be there, so let's go. And you go there, and then you're glad you did. And when you left and you see Dave, and even if it's just a, hey man, what's up? You showed up to something that you told somebody that you're going to be at, you know, and those little things that you can learn just by going to meetings is just crazy. You know, there's a lot more you can learn too, you know, and if you want to work the steps, like I said, if you're going to AANA, you know, work the steps, see if that works for you. If it doesn't, then, you know, you can still go to the meetings. No one's going to tell you, wait, you're not working a step. You don't have a sponsor. Get out of here, buddy. And if they do, well, then that meeting's probably not for you anyway. You can go to so many meetings and make a trip of it. You know, if you're tired of going to the same old meeting, well, find a new one. You know, mix it up. That was something that really, I think, was beneficial to me. Where I went to sober living, it's very small, and it's the same guys at the same meetings. Some people like that, you know. Which, sure, once a week that's fine, but I want to go see the other guys at the other meetings in the other cities. You know, like I said, make an event out of it. Make a trip out of it. You know, it is what you want it to be, and you can get out of it whatever you want out of it. If you want to go there and bitch and complain, go there and bitch and complain. You know, just don't bitch and complain that you're sober. Some people come in there and they're like, I don't understand why I can't drink anymore. Well, that's because you're what they call dry drunk, man. You know, there's a happy life out there. Who wants to be miserable? If you want to be miserable, just keep drinking. That's, I'm telling you, that's 100% fact. If you want to be miserable, keep using drugs. You'll be miserable. Your brain will trick you to tell you that it's great. Remember the good old days. Remember those days, and it was so much fun. Remember life of the party, and then, nah, I didn't really even go down that way. Probably weren't the life of the party at all. People probably hated you and probably annoyed everybody. I know I did. You know, when your friends just stop answering your call. Yeah, that happens to us all, man. But it can change too. And just like Meyer and Speedway, you know, they showed us that they support people in recovery. You know, they gave us a donation. Meyer and Speedway did. And that to me said more than anything. It wasn't even about the amount. It was about the fact that they supported 217 Recovery, who supports people in early recovery, that people can pull it together and change their life. It's possible. If I didn't believe it, I wouldn't be doing this podcast. But I'm living proof that it can happen. And when we get Meyer to donate to us, we get Speedway to donate to us, that says a lot. That says that they believe too. They wouldn't just throw their money away. Trust me. We asked Meyer last year for a TV that we were going to give away for the grand prize for our fantasy football league. And they were like, I'm not sure about that. I haven't really heard of you guys. And in that time, they had heard of us. And so now they're like, yeah, we've heard about you guys. And sorry about we couldn't do the other one, but we didn't really know who you were. And we don't like throwing stuff away like that. And so trust me, if they didn't think that we were making a difference, if they didn't think it was possible that people can change their lives they wouldn't even support it. So, my hat's off to people at Meyer. I mean, the donation meant more than they'll ever know. Same thing with Speedway. Thank you so much. It's more than the amount. It's the fact that you support us and you support people in recovery, and you support the fact that, yeah, people can change their lives. Is it easy? No. It's more psychological on us wanting to change, and changing from wanting to change to actually changing. And there's a difference between walking around saying that you're going to change and actually doing the things that you need to do to make that change happen. I see a lot of people get stuck, and a lot of people don't want to listen. I didn't want to listen at first. I really thought I was different. I thought I could one day pull it all together and still drink. And it wasn't until I came to the realization of that's not an option anymore. It's not a game. This really is life or death. That I could accept it, accept that I can never drink again. And now I'm at a point where seriously, I don't want to drink again. And I don't want to be miserable anymore. Like I said, if you want to be miserable, just keep doing drugs. Alcohol is a drug. Keep doing it. You'll be miserable. Simple. Easy equation. The hard part, though, is to come to terms with it, with yourself, that everybody is just like you, man. Everybody has said that. Everybody has had that thought of, can I just give it a couple years off, take a couple years off, and then go right back at it hard? No, you're going to be in the same spot, and it's even faster. It's crazy how it happens. You can stop drinking and have like 3 or 4 months of sobriety, start getting it all back, everything's great, and it's gone even quicker. And do it again, go 3, 4 months, and then here we go, and then boom. No, even quicker than before. And then you start to not have anything. And you start thinking, well, living on the street's not that bad. Then you sleep in your car a few times, and you think, this isn't that bad. And you start trying to justify that it's okay to yourself when who wants to sleep in a car? I know society and the social standards are different for every community. But pretty sure sleeping in a car here in America isn't really something that you want to do. I didn't want to do it until my addiction told me that I could do it and survive. Yeah, I could do it and survive. Doesn't mean that it's good. I don't need a big mansion or anything like that, to be happy. And you learn that too along the way in recovery. You start learning what life's really about, and material things are just that, things that you lose. And sometimes you get them back, but you start to realize too what's important. And the material things, as you go on, will come back, if you want them, and I have so many awesome things that's just, okay, if I lost it, like the wedding ring I would be a little upset about, but other things, TV, stuff like that, I don't like that. I bought an LG TV and it has a ghost thing on it, and not like a real ghost, but like on the screen because it sucks. It's the 8100 series. If you have one, you know what I'm talking about. It's horrible. You have to watch the TV straight on. But I don't do that because my couch is to the side, so it's just horrible. But anyway, stay away from that LG. But back to the topic of memory lane. I did write a short blog tonight, and I posted a picture. I found a picture that, and I cropped Ron White out of. But Ron White, I went to see him. It was like in Battle Creek or something in, 2002, and got a picture taken with him. So it's a pretty old picture. But that was part of memory lane. That was part of the stuff that was on the disc that I threw in, and I got the files from, and it was just like, wow, so young and, hungry and promising. And I kind of take that same approach today in my recovery. I'm hungry. I want more, and I want to do the things that other people aren't doing, and I want to stick my neck out and leap forward, let God catch me. But you gotta kind of stay hungry and, careful when you go back through memory lane, because it can bring out some bad. Like I said, there are some bad times in radio that were brought up on the podcast, but going down memory lane overall, to me today, it was a good thing. And like I said, 2 years, 4 months, and some change, that's when I was ready enough to go back down there. And I didn't choose really to go back down memory lane. I wasn't just sitting around one day and thought, man, I'm gonna get them boxes out of my old tapes and demos and stuff. I was kind of asked to go down memory lane by my friend Ron, but I'm glad I did it. And the podcast that I did today with him is called Radio Dayz. Again, that's DAYZ.
Thursday night shout-out with 217 Recovery.
Well, might as well lead with Ron Robinson and the podcast, Radio Dayz. Shout out to him. Shout out to my man Tyler, a.k.a. The Cowboy. We're going to shout out to Courtney, also Lisa, Chelsea, Dan, and Aaron. Those are the shout-outs tonight, Thursday night. Shout-outs. So wrapping up the podcast today. Thanks again for listening. The new app for Apple is out. Yeah, if you already have the app, it's new. And the new button, it's going to update one more time for Apple, but you can get the new app right now at the App Store. It's absolutely free. 217 Recovery. Search the App Store. Google, as of right now, when I'm recording this podcast, it's still the old app, which, it's better than it was on the Apple phones, but still it's not complete. I don't like it, but it will switch soon. So if you got the Google, the Play Store, 217 Recovery, and the new button will be gray with like a blue 217 Recovery in the middle of it. But yeah, Apple guys, check it out, man. Check out the new podcast. It's pretty sweet. You're gonna like it a lot. So thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you, or somebody will talk to you on Saturday. Have a good night. 217recovery.com for resources and more info. See ya. And stay sober.